Hello everyone, this is Plankara, and welcome to my universe. Today, I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So yesterday, I had to leave her in faceless mode so I can see what I was doing with the bangs here, and thus, she is still in faceless mode because I don't like the way the tips of her bangs are right here on this lower turn. So you can kind of see that they're all just, I don't know. It's not working for me. So I'm going to work on those a little bit today. And hopefully, by the end of today, I will be done with bang tips for a while. At least until I decide to touch up the upper head turns. But I think I got them looking pretty good from this direction, so once I kind of get them to line up a little bit better, all should be well, in theory. Then again, you know, maybe I should just look at all the angles and just touch everything up and make everything just the way I want it. This is an important little area, so I want to get it right. Area right in between her eyes. So yes, I guess I will spend some time doing that today. I'll just go ahead and revisit all the middle and lower angles and make sure everything is the way I want it to be. And hopefully today we will just have some very nice tips for her bangs. And then I'll just keep lining everything up at the lower turn. It seems like most everything is already pretty well lined up there, so... Hello there, Ten Guy. How are you doing today? One moment here, my speakers are in the way. There we go, speakers were kind of covering chat, so I wanted to fix that. Alright. I hope you have a nice, relaxing day. I'm just here, fixing up her bangs, which are unfortunately a fairly similar color to her skin tone, so I have to do funny things like turn off the color in her face and just have a floating face here. It always looks very cursed. Alright, no problem. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a nice day too. Alright, I think that's already doing a little bit better. But if I look at the original, the kinda very, very tip of this strand actually kind of points down. Yeah, you see it has, on this top part here, it kind of just points downward here. So I should get that in mine on this side as well. Just kind of have it flatten off at the end here. It's like I meshed this so I could be very particular with how I moved everything in the bangs, so I might as well make use of that and try to make everything look nice. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's much better. Just keep some of those little details in there. Now I have to do something kind of similar to this little tip here, because I see when I move it over, it kinda starts floating upward. Little tip goes swoop! As opposed to pointing downward like it should. So let's get that pointing in the right direction now. I think today is going to be another day where I take things really slow and try to take in all the details. And get all of them right. Okay, that's pointing a little bit too far down. It doesn't swoosh quite like that. It goes a little bit more like this. I guess there's not much point in zooming out when her chin isn't even on screen, so I can just stay at whatever level of zoom I want to be in. Normally I zoom up because I like seeing the movement with her chin on screen, so that this way I can make sure that her hair is moving about as much as her chin. I think it's a pretty good way to make sure that I'm moving things the right amount. But with no chin, it's like, oh, that's fine. Here I'm not really going for distance. I feel like I have all the distances right. I'm just going for these shapes. Just trying to get all of these little shapes. And angles, all in the right place here. So let's see, for here I think I want to do the left and the right turns first. Starting with the right, just because I have been working on the lower right head turn here. And then once I do those, I'll worry about this one, and then I'll go back to getting the corners here. Just gonna make her dance. Kind of feels weird to be moving things around while I'm this zoomed in. Although I gotta say, being this zoomed in makes the floating face look way less cursed than it would otherwise. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because admittedly I find all the cursed things I have to do in order to get things to look right to be pretty funny. I do think they're pretty funny. and they definitely help me keep me entertained during some of the more boring parts. Oh, it's Sunday. Sometimes I forget what day of the week it is, just because my days tend to all be pretty similar. It's like I get up, do some stuff with my husband, then I come stream, and then my kids get up and I go play with them. And then I flop for an hour and I go to bed. Tends to be the same pretty much every day. But the only way that I really remember what day of the week it is, well, one, I play a couple of gacha games and they have weekly missions and, just stuff that you can only do weekly. So that kind of helps me, reminds me of when certain days are. But the other thing is that sometimes the grandparents come to visit the kids on certain days. So that also helps me remember. But otherwise, I think I'd probably forget a lot. I've been enjoying having a schedule where I don't have to care about what day of the week it is. Just get to do what I want for a little while. Gotta go ahead and kind of straighten out the bangs here too, since I do think I'm already kind of in the phase where I am cleaning things up and straightening things out. Okay, yeah, that looks a little bit better. So now I want to pay attention to kind of these two tips down here. I was looking at that one before. Yeah, still needs to be a little bit longer, it looks like. Still shrinking out just a little bit there. But otherwise, I think it looks pretty good. I think these bangs are lining up well, so I can move on to the left head turn. Yes. So let's come check over here. I remember I spent a pretty long time working on those ones, so hopefully they're better. A little bit better. I think there's a few areas where I can make them even better, though. So I'll go ahead and do that while I'm here. I get the feeling that I might have zoomed out and checked to see if any of these little details would make that much of a difference, and determined no, because what I see is pretty minor. So I might just call it good for the most part, but yeah, I actually think they're fine. Okay, cool. Left turn, good. Bottom turn, very much not good. So let's get on that. Because, man, what is even going on down there? It's like I'm looking right at kind of this one right here in particular. And it's like, man, this part just gets all weird. Stretch. Okay. And then over here, I don't think has any idea what's going on, and just various little things like that. They don't look terrible, but I can do so much better. We're just gonna fix them up and then align things up with both of the lower turns. And I will worry about the upper turns later. Okay. And then this one needs to go a little bit lower. It looks like it's just getting caught in something, and that's no good at all. So I've been reading more of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. Just kinda going through that, and I've been enjoying it so far. I do think that I enjoyed Doombreaker a little bit more, and they're somewhat similar. Doombreaker's a little bit more fantasy, but they kind of both have a similar idea in that they have a character that knows a lot about what's going to happen in the future, and then they use that information to kind of navigate the world and whatnot. With Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, it's because he read a web novel that just happened to outline what was going to happen here, whereas in Doombreaker it was because he got sent back to the past. Or the protagonist got sent back to the past. So, similar ideas there. But I think the big thing that was making me like Doombreaker a little bit more, I guess I should back up a little bit. They both kind of use video game mechanics to talk about skills and how certain things are modeled within the world. So they feel very similar to me, which is why I'm comparing them right now. But the big thing that I think that made me like Doombreaker a little bit better is just that I think the protagonist is more interesting. They're both very, I guess I'll describe them as tough guys. Where they can just kind of go out and do what's necessary. But I've always felt like Zephyr, the protagonist of Doombreaker, cared more about the world that he lived in. And that kind of made me appreciate him a little bit more. Whereas the protagonist of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint is a little bit more dispassionate, a little bit more manipulative, and doesn't really seem to care about other people that much. And I think that makes him a little bit less interesting, and I thought that was kind of interesting to think about. Given the context of the story, I actually would not be surprised if the author is planning on using that, given it's about a guy that read a web novel and thus knows the future, as opposed to a guy that was living in the world and thus knows the future. So their connections to that world are a little bit different. And for Zephyr, some of it is a little bit more personal. But the protagonist of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, like, his name literally means reader. And the author seems to be playing into that a lot. And considering I'm only on, like, chapter 60-something right now, I'm wondering if the author is planning on doing something with that. There seems to be some inklings of that with what's the difference between a person and a character and all these kinds of things. So I am wondering if his kind of dispassionate view of things is very intentional and the author's just using that to set something up later, while still kind of playing into some of the more stereotypical wish fulfillment tough guy tropes. So I'm very curious to see where that goes. Basically, I am intrigued. So I suspect I will be reading this one until I catch up on what's translated. But still, if you guys have any suggestions on what I should read next, I am looking for them. Otherwise, it's going to be, shoot. What was it called? I can never remember how to pronounce that flower. Hyacinth? Is that how you say it? But yes, there was one named after a particular flower that a lot of people describe as having really interesting art, so I wanted to check it out. See, a lot of flower names are ones that I have read but never heard pronounced, so I'm not quite sure how to pronounce them sometimes. The hazards of suddenly going to a place where I have to use my voice a lot and talk instead of just typing out words that I can spell check. I swear, streaming is gonna make me expand my vocabulary again. Just like typing an IRC made me learn how to spell. Now I'm gonna have to learn how to pronounce words. Oh no! Been thinking about the art style that I want to use for the comic that I currently have in my head. I have started to do a little bit of writing, but words are hard, so it's still a bit slow. So when words are a bit slow, sometimes I think about the art a little bit. And I have some ideas, so I might try to draw some things in that particular style, or the style in my head, and try to develop it into something I feel like I could conceivably draw a comic with. The idea currently in my head I think might be a little bit too detailed. But we'll see. We'll see what I can do. Regardless, you can probably expect to see some art of me experimenting sometime soon. Probably not for the next one, because the next one I think is just going to be a weekly speed paint. Somebody requested me to draw a character from what I believe is a new Inazuma 11 game, so a soccer game. Not really familiar with it, but that's okay. I got some character art. She's pretty cute. I have an idea of what to draw, so hopefully I'll be able to do that today. Honestly, I've been kind of enjoying getting requests, even if it's for characters that I'm not familiar with. I like seeing how well I can kind of capture them with the limited information that I have. It's like, I think I must have nailed it with the first one that I did of Void Gerda, because that got well over 100 likes on Pixiv. I forget how many people bookmarked it, but yeah, it was the most popular thing I have drawn ever. It's like on Twitter and other social media, I rarely get more than like 20 or 30, and even that's a lot. Most of the time it's closer to like 3. But there we go, that one got over 100. I was like, wow, okay, I gotta do this more often. Feels good. Man, the tips of her front bangs here are actually really far off on the lower head turn. I've been having to do a lot of fixing. Most of it pretty subtle details, but I still think it's worth fixing those subtle details in this case. Just thinking a little bit about what I plan to do today. It's been really cold lately, so haven't really been able to take my kids to the park or anything. That's been a little bit sad. But it's like, even if I did, I doubt anybody would actually be there, because it's, like I said, it's really cold where I live right now. I actually have a blanket over my shoulders because it's kind of cold inside, too. Personally, I don't mind the cold that much. It's pretty easy to deal with as long as I stay inside. You know, just have a nice blanket, put on the fireplace, get nice and cozy. All will be well. The summer heat is pretty hard to do. It can be pretty hard to deal with, though. Because, like, that you can't just drape a blanket over your shoulders and everything will be fine. It can be pretty hard to fight off getting too hot. And even then, when it gets too hot, I still have problems taking my kids to the park. Because I remember doing that last summer, and periodically, it's like we'd go, and of course, the kids would want to wear summer clothes, or at least I would give them summer clothes to wear, which generally means that their legs are somewhat bare. So, you know, you want to wear shorts or skirts in the summer. And that means that any time that they, like, try to sit on the black swings, on the swing sets there, they'd be really hot, because they've been sitting there absorbing the sun all day. And my daughter would always get very mad at how hot the swings were. Personally, I thought it was kind of cute, and I felt bad for laughing at her. At least internally. I tried not to do it externally, but... poor tiny one. Unable to cope with the swing being hotter than she wants it to be. So many of these things are just so adorable. But I feel like they shouldn't be. I feel like I shouldn't be going, oh, look at her being unable to enjoy the swing set because it's too hot. Or being unable to enjoy the slide because it's too hot. But, well, it happens. I guess that's just the hazard of being cute. It's kind of like watching cat videos and the cat's there lining up a jump and then they slip at the last minute and just kind of fall face first on the floor. And I laugh at that too, and I think it's cute. Even though part of me feels like I shouldn't. Alas, poor kitty, and alas, poor tiny human. I guess today I'll just stay home and derp around. My kids have been liking to play hide and seek lately. The younger one still doesn't quite understand it, so he typically just either runs to hide under a chair or runs to hide in the laundry room. And doesn't necessarily want to be found. He just wants to hide. I think it's cute. I think so many things are cute. So he doesn't quite understand the rules yet, but the older one is actually getting decent at hiding and decent at finding me when I hide. I've been having to up my hiding game. So it doesn't get too easy. The problem is that if I do make it too hard, she gets very distressed when she can't find me. She gets some very strange ideas in her head, like, did I leave her home alone, or stuff like that, and it's like, no, of course not. But Still, it's very cute. Man, this tiny little split tip here is actually surprisingly difficult to work with. Seems like it shouldn't be as hard as it is, but it always does throw me off a little bit. But the good news is that I do think I am slowly getting into place here. Like I said, just gonna take my time today. Take my time and see all of the details. But I'm pretty happy with how it's all turning out. I think it's coming together pretty well. And for once, I don't actually feel like I'm flailing that hard or anything. I'm just going. And the vertices are just going too. We're just going together and everything's working out. So my husband and I are finishing up what we want to do for with the Factorio expansion. We've almost finished our first playthrough, and then probably in a while we'll attempt a speedrun, but I think we both want to take a break for a little bit, because we've been playing a lot of Factorio lately. It's a good game. I have greatly enjoyed it. I'm not surprised that it's kind of created this almost subgenre of factory simulators, because I've been seeing a lot more factory simulators too. It's pretty good. And we were able to build a pretty sweet space platform that could go to the solar system edge and out toward the shattered planet pretty fast. And get all the things that we needed. But after that, I think we're gonna try Balatro. I have heard very good things about it, so I've been kind of curious about how a game that is basically a poker roguelike could get so popular, so much mainstream popularity. Because from what I've seen in the past, deck builder type games, especially the roguelike kind, have generally had a fairly niche appeal. Like, they pretty often have dedicated fan bases. I mean, just look at Slay the Spire. But never really seemed to garner that much mainstream attention. So I'm really curious to see what Balatro did. I have not looked into it beyond it being a poker roguelike. Because it's like, once I saw the basic structure there, I was just like, yeah, my husband's gonna like this. So, I knew that we'd be playing it, so I stopped looking at it. I like to go into games as blind as possible. Only figuring out, like, the bare minimum to decide if I'm going to want to play it or not. I think it makes the games a bit more fun. Alright, I've almost made it to the other side. But I think it's looking a lot better than it was before. So I'm happy that I went through and just did that. Because oh boy, were some of these tips just really far off. I might need to go back and adjust the shadows at the end, but I think I'd like to do that when I go ahead and do the shadows for the lower right turn. So I think I'm just gonna leave those off for now. Adjust my leg there, it was falling asleep a little bit. There we go. No, I don't think that's gonna be any good. Yeah, okay. I think I needed to do that though, so let's move the tip of this hair down with it. There we go. Yeah, that definitely holds a slightly better shape. And I think it will look pretty good once I clean it all up. But definitely has to be cleaned up. This, the angle on the tip of this is actually really straight. I am amazed by how many straights are in this hair. Just always looks so light and fluffy, but there's so many little angular parts. And I think it's very interesting. I've definitely gotten a deep dive on how Path to Nowhere art is drawn just by doing this. Alright, I think that's looking pretty good now. Maybe just a little bit of angling going on right over here. Or if I just need to point things this way just a little bit more than I currently am. Not you. There we go. Vertices are a little bit close together there, so sometimes I click on the wrong one. That is all. Okay, and I think this one over on the rightmost side needs to be a little bit longer. But otherwise, I think we're looking good. Finally made my way through. Almost. Okay, I still need to adjust the shape of this strand here. That's okay, I'm almost there. Almost there. Alright, there we go. I think that looks pretty good. So now let me check over here. Yeah, some of this is already looking kind of wrinkly. Let's check against the diagonal. Hello there, Gazelle. Well, thank you for saying that. I'm hoping that I will find people eventually. But I'm still here. Well, how are you doing today? Okay, let's go ahead and start adjusting the lower left before I go back to working on the lower right. Just stay out here in floating face mode for a little while longer. Yeah, well, I tend to see it as more they'll find me eventually. That's the nature of YouTube. People have to know I exist before they can enjoy what I put out there. And I have never been that good at marketing. I know some of the principles, but they scare me. So that's okay, I don't mind just being out here doing my thing. I like what I'm doing, it's fun. Man, I gotta say, zooming in on her eyes here and the way the bang is covering over them, I think looks pretty cool. Definitely suits the character. Now here I'm kind of starting with the outer edge. I didn't have to do this quite as much in the other angles, but I didn't like it quite as much here. Oh, thank you. I've been going for a while, but I think I'm starting to get the hang of all this. So I'm hoping that the body movement and fixing up the last bit of the head movement that I want to do will go a little bit faster. So here I'm going to be checking it more on the diagonal because I want to compare it to the original where I have no deformations applied. And then I'll worry about lining it up with the left and the lower turn. Alright, have a nice day. Thanks for stopping by. And the VODs will be out there forever. And someday I'll even make a playlist with them, and probably a time-lapse once I finish rigging all this. Okay, that's actually one area that I didn't notice was a little bit off on the left head turn. This should be a little bit further over this way. It shouldn't be curling quite so much. Yes, that looks much better. So that'll line up with down here a little bit more as well. But now that that movement's looking a little bit better, I better go clean up that little strand. So right now it's a little messy. I mean, everything's going to be a little messy when I'm at 950% zoom, but there are limits. Okay, that's a bit better there. I even kind of like the angle that this moves downward from. Kind of curves inward just a little bit more, and I think that looks pretty good. So let's kind of emphasize that sort of movement a little bit more with this highlight. There's this little highlight right here that the vertices are right on top of, and I think if I make that just a little bit rounder than it currently is, I think that'll emphasize the turn a little bit better and make things look just a little bit nicer. Man, I have no idea how I'm going to uncrunchify all of this, though. That's going to be an adventure. So I probably won't finish this today, but that's alright. Can do more bangs tomorrow. Bangs forever. I'm just going to be continually buried in hair for all eternity. Man, why does fluffy anime hair have to be so pretty? It makes things so much more complicated than it needs to be. But it's so pretty! So I continue to draw it, even though every time I do, I'm just, like, internally screaming. It's okay, it's worth it. Alright, time to see if I can get this not looking quite so messy there. It's gotta be kind of rough though, because I feel like if one side isn't messy, then the other side is messy, because this vertex kind of controls both of the edges here, and it does make it tricky. Well, I think that looks fine enough. I'm gonna have to adjust the kind of split tips quite a lot anyway. Okay, I did push this a little bit too far forward, though, I think. I had a vision, but this isn't it. Gotta moderate it a little bit, just so it actually looks good. Okay, it's a little bit crunchy, but I want to see if it's in the right place. Okay, maybe just a little bit less round. Teeny tiny bit. Okay, well, that split tip is gonna be rough to fix up, so I'm gonna try to fix a bunch of the stuff around it first. And once a lot of the stuff around it is looking right, then I can worry about making sure that spot looks right. But right now, the gap between this strand and this strand is just way too high. So I'm gonna pull that down. And hopefully, once some of these other things are a little bit more in place, it won't look quite so bad. And I'll have a little bit less to fix. Alright, yeah, that's looking a bit better. Now I think I want to bring it a little bit further to the right here. Straighten out some of these little shadows right here. And then, let's see if that's in a better spot. Okay, I think the gap between these strands is also a little bit too high. So I'll bring that down a little bit too. Alright, I think that's looking pretty okay. Let me actually make right here on the highlight again just a tiny bit rounder right there. And I think that'll make everything look just a little bit better. And I wasn't sure if I was going to finish the bangs on this lower left angle here today, but, you know, I think I might. Let's just go. We'll just go ahead and do it. I can just do it. It's fine. 'Cause I feel like they're coming together, and you know, if I change my mind, that's okay. I can do that. I can change my mind all I want. But right now I think things are going pretty well, so I kind of just want to keep going. Should still give me plenty of time to eat and do my weekly speed paint before I have to go get my kids up. All shall be well. Just making a few adjustments to where the hair kind of transitions from purple to white here. Just to make sure that everything lines up well. But for the most part, I do feel like everything is in a pretty alright spot. Getting into the real subtle changes in the strands here. That's okay. Those little subtle differences are what make everything look really good, I think. Because one thing I have noticed when looking at live 2D models is that the way the hair moves is part of what really marks the difference in quality between something that's kind of okay to something that's really nice. Because I see some beginners posting models, and the big thing that makes me able to tell that they're relatively new to this is that the way the hair and head moves looks a little bit two-dimensional. So it looks more like a flat image changing direction on a plane, as opposed to a 3D looking head. Something where we're like, you know, maybe this could be an actual person turning their head. And I see a lot of that in just the way the hair changes. So the fact that I can notice it so clearly makes me want to make sure that I have everything looking very nice here. Yeah, I feel like this is already a lot better. Even though the changes are small, I see them. I see them having an effect on how everything looks. And all these little things matter. No matter how small. Might need to poke at this a little bit more than I thought I might. There's so many little details in her front bangs here, so I'm not surprised that they always take a little while. It's definitely the most detailed strand of hair. Most little spots on it, so that's why it takes the longest. But there we go, that looks better. Alright, let's curl the bottom of these strands here now. Because they are supposed to curl kind of more like this. Or they kind of start going upward a little bit. Okay, and then I think I want to bring them forward a little bit too. I might actually have to do that via brush here. Something like that. And then just slide a little bit further this way. There we go. So what I really want is I want this part right there to be a little bit straighter. Let's see if I can pull that off without breaking everything else on the other side. I might not, but I'm gonna try. Because all the vertices are getting pretty close together here, since the side is getting a little bit compressed. Okay, that's probably about as straight as I'm gonna be able to get it. I think that's probably close enough. Now let's see if I can fix this spot over here that just keeps looking very lumpy to me. Yeah, okay, so I think there is good. Okay. I think we're looking pretty good there. Let's straighten out this one now. This one's almost good, I think. Just gotta kinda deal with this edge here. Fan it out a little bit more. Make it nice and fluffy. There we go. And then the inner side, I think, is also in need of a little bit of shaping here. This side needs to be less fluffy. Here we go. Alright, and then if I change the angle on the tip, I think that will be entirely done. Okay, I think the very, very end of this actually needs to be a little bit rounder. I never noticed just how... It has a little bit of a small bulge to it. It's fluffy. Yeah. But you can see, this isn't a straight line. It's just got like the smallest of bulges. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Alright, I don't think I have that much to do on this outer one. I actually had to think for a second if I wanted to change anything at all. But I think I do. Just a very, very small adjustment here. Alright, I think that's all I wanted to change there. So I think that's the bangs on all of these angles done, and then I can adjust it and start cleaning on the lower right tomorrow. But I think all the rest are looking pretty good. Sans upward head turn. Not doing the up ones yet. I'll do those when I decide to go revisit them. But for today, I think this is where I will end. So, thank you all for coming. And I hope you're all able to make something wonderful today. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.
you